And a moment of silence. Thank you. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and all other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being videotaped for cable. I'd like to have a motion for the approval of the minutes from our September 14th, 2020 school committee meeting. Moved, second, any discussion? And the changes have been made? Great. Thank you, Molly. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, thank you. Oh, and just for clarity, the recorder has asked that we raise our hands when we're either moving or seconding a motion, so she can take down who's saying what under these wonderful masks. Sorry, I already messed up. You can see my smile underneath. Okay, thank you. And on the superintendent's update, Mr. Bodwell, we have the first day of school question.
Yes, and just a reminder too that all of our microphones are muted, so when you want to talk, just unmute, and we'll do the same with our guest speakers. We've had a great opening of school. We have started about 2.5 weeks ago. We're very excited to get the kids back in the building. It's been a tremendous relief to finally see the kids walk through the doors. It's still early. We've only had each cohort has been now in the building 6 times, so it's still early. But I'm really impressed with everything, all the hard work by the administrators and the teachers over the summer, in the 10 days leading up to, with professional development, with planning and preparation, that things are going really, really well. Great seeing kids come off the bus, kids starting athletics, smiles. You walk into the buildings and you just see it. Although everyone's wearing masks and there's less people, it's still got that same vibe. I think it's the kids are excited to be back, and we're excited to have them. So I'm just asking each of the principals to just say a few words about how opening has been in their schools, and why don't we start at the middle senior high school, Mrs. Page.
Don't forget to sit down, please. See you better. Perfect.
Good evening, everybody. So yes, to kind of go along with what Mr. Bodwell said, it's been so great to have the kids back. All summer as we're planning, you have these feelings of nightmares of, oh no, what's this all going to look like? And it's been great. Kids are happy. They're walking the halls. It's good to see their faces, their eyes. And I have to say kudos to the kids. When they come in, I have these visions of constantly reminding students to keep their masks on, and they've been awesome. They really, I think, just want to be back. So I think they're going to do whatever they need to do to be able to stay here. In our cafeteria, if you have not seen it, we did put up plexiglass dividers. So the students are sitting there 4 at a time. Not ideal for socializing, but we have peeled all the plastic off, and so at least the kids can see each other and be able to be together in the cafeteria, which is great. We are using the one door coming in and out of door 1. It's worked well. We at the end of the day, we're calling the bus students first, followed by everybody else. We do respectfully ask for parents to please follow the procedures for drop off and pickup. It just really helps with the traffic flow to not have students over at the Spring Street School. I know Officer Pope has been over and has spoken to a few parents. So we will really appreciate if you just continue to just follow those procedures. We've gone to a 3-break system in order to, alleviate too many people in the caf at one time. It's gone smoothly. We have 2 high school breaks one middle school break. The students come down. Anne-Marie Grinder and her staff have been amazing. They're just going along like everybody else. They're just kind of chugging along. I have to say I'm so proud of my teachers here at the middle senior high school. It's a lot. They're teaching remotely while students are in person. Here and there you have some tech snags, but they're doing awesome. I would just ask if anybody has questions, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out and give us a call. You come in to meet with us. We're happy to have that conversation. But so far, so good. So we just, fingers crossed that we keep on chugging. So thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Page. Mr. McLaughlin at the Howard School.
Good evening, everyone. I want to echo what Mrs. Page said. I've been beyond thrilled with how things have gone the first few weeks. We spent a lot of time this summer kind of brainstorming what all the possible things that could come up and what could go wrong, what can we be ready to do in case it does. And I think on the opening day of school, we opened our doors and everything just kind of flowed. And it's really been the best possible result we could have hoped for. We spent time wondering about if buses were going to be crowded or late, and buses are pulling up with 5 to 10 kids on each bus. And we wondered if traffic was going to back up onto Howard Street every morning because parents were going to drive all the kids, and that has not happened yet. And kids have come in with smiles. I had to cover a class in 6th grade this afternoon. I asked the kids at the end, and I said, be honest. I don't care that I'm the principal. Just be honest. Give me a thumbs up if you think things have gone better than you expected this fall, sideways if it's about what you expected, and thumbs down if it's been harder than you thought. All 17 of them gave me a thumbs up, and I just thought that was really, really great to see. Our custodians, I've done a phenomenal job with the building. I mean, their workload has surely doubled this year in terms of just wiping down surfaces, sanitizing rooms when people aren't there, cleaning the isolation room that we keep in the office when a kid has symptoms afterwards, things like that. And so my hat really goes off to them. But like Mrs. Page said, the teachers are really, they've been heroes through this, just managing the in-person kids and everything that they're, working through while they're there. And then the remote kids and making sure they're engaged and challenged at home. At the same time, I could not be more happy with them. Ms. Resendez, who is doing, I remember we introduced her at the last meeting. I don't remember if I introduced her as an aide or as the fully remote teacher last we met, but she has taken over the fully remote program at the school. And I get weekly or daily emails from parents saying how happy their kids are at home, how challenged they are, how much they enjoy that program, what a great job she's doing building connections, even through a computer screen. And she's, working overtime to make sure that program runs successfully. So, we're full steam ahead and very few bumps in the road thus far.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. And Mrs. Goulet can talk about the Roselle McDonald and the Spring Street School.
Am I unmuted? Okay, perfect. So to reiterate exactly what Mrs. Page and Mr. McLaughlin said, it's been great to be back and see everyone. I'm someone who always thinks worst case scenarios, and I probably had a dream about everything that horrible that could have happened school starting. In my dream, it did. And the first day when you saw those eyes, and you can tell a child smiling through the mask, through their eyes. So it was great to see everyone back. We've had some slight changes thanks to the help of Officer Pope with the Spring Street School. I do think that most people didn't believe it would go as smoothly as it did. But we have really worked out a really great system of dismissal, a little bit similar to the Roselle, not as long of a line for all those people who have sat through the Roselle McDonald pickup line. But it is a way to ensure the safety of the students when they leave the school. Again, the Spring Street School is super excited to have their full-time custodian, and Johnny's been doing an amazing job keeping that place clean. Every time you turn around, a kiddo's walking through the door, he's right there wiping down the door handles. The students over everything else have been complete rock stars. Again, I was really worried with the youngest students wearing masks all day and having to be that reminder to wear them. They're wearing them. They love to show off the different superheroes or the princesses. So I think the parents who are really making it kind of like an exciting thing for them to be wearing. Some of them are pretty unique. We even had a little girl today who had a cat mask, and the teacher was saying it was so distracting because every time she talked, the little nose moved. but whatever gets her through the day. The teachers are spending a lot of time utilizing our outdoor spaces. Every single day you can see at least one class outside learning. We're taking advantage of the nice weather while we have it. It's a perfect opportunity for our mass breaks. A couple weekends ago, I had a couple of teachers at the McDonald's school who came on a Sunday and painted paw prints in the backyard or on the pavement so that students could sit 10 feet apart and have their mass breaks. So that was huge. To be brutally honest, we've had a lot of little, technical issues with, the remote learning and the hybrid, but, we're working through it. We're meeting with teachers today, trying to really take the feedback we're getting from parents and making sure it's a great program for all. So it's been a great start. It's great to see everyone back.
I will say it's just been awesome. I mean, being at both opening days, because we had 2 different cohorts, so I was there for both days at arrival, and those traditional tiers, some by the kids too, but some by those younger parents. But everyone was so excited, and you could feel it, you could see it. The kids came running into school. They couldn't wait to get back. And I tell you, it just really speaks to the team we have. And the team, includes all of our staff, all of our students, and all of our families, just really stepping it up, showing patience, knowing that things are changing. We're working through this, but having the patience and the trust in us, they were doing what's best for kids. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate the school committee's support because we're all in this for the kids and we're doing what we can is what's best for them. So thank you to everyone. And, we'll continue. Hopefully it just gets better and better.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Goulet, for that update on those schools. And also under superintendent's update, we have the SRO update with Officer Pope.
And while he walks up there, I'll just say a couple words about Officer Pope. He's been with us now we've been in the district for a long time with the department. We've been fortunate enough to have him working as kind of the fill-in for Officer Baxter, and has done a wonderful job. So we're so excited for him to talk about what he does and what the things he has planned for in the future.
All right. So what a year to start as a school resource officer, huh? So first off, I'd like to thank the school committee and Mr. Bodwell for having me here tonight. This is all new to me, so I'm excited to be a part of this. I know pretty much everybody in the room, but just so you know me a little bit better, I've worked for the town of West Bridgewater for the last 15 years. I'm born and raised here. I have 3 kids in the system. And my wife teaches here at the high school, so I am super excited to be here. As far as the opening of schools this year, we had a couple bumps in the road early on, but we worked through it. We're working with 2 different cohorts, so we kind of had to teach people twice. But it's a huge testament to the efforts that put forward by the administrators here and the staff. So I'd like to thank them as well. We had some issues kind of teaching some of the kindergarten parents to get into the Spring Street. I appreciate the parents and helping us and being very patient. We actually got the pickup times down to about 3.5 minutes. So we've been bragging about that for all week. I think the parents are pretty happy with that too. So a little bit about what I'm doing here. My priority number 1 is the security of all the students, security of the staff, making sure that everybody here is safe, happy, and in a positive learning environment. If there's any concerns that parents have, any concerns staff or school committee has, my phone is always on. You can email me, call the police station. I have a direct line there. My extension at the police station is 5119. Please reach out to me there. As far as things I'm trying to do at the beginning of the school year, I've already kind of jumped in. We discussed it, I believe in our safe school meetings last year. I've actually tackled something that's called a crisis bucket. We're chuckling over here. Yeah. So we got it. I can honestly say I'm about 75% done. Thank you to a lot of the parents that have already helped out. The PTO has already helped out with awesome donations. It's going to make this goal hopefully done within the next week or so. The crisis bucket, just real quick for people that don't know, it's a safety kit, we'll call it, for in case the school ever needed to go into a prolonged lockdown. It's just some items that the staff and students may need just to make them a little bit more comfortable, and so we can clear the school and get them out safely. It's nothing to worry about. It's all good stuff, and I'll put some stuff out soon to explain it a little bit better to everybody. But I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much. And again, any questions or concerns, please reach out to me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Officer Holt. Thank you. And we also now have the athletic update with Ms. Hamill. Don't forget to unmute the button.
Am I good? Yeah. Well, good evening, and thank you so much, everybody. I'm so psyched to be here. I got to be honest, I feel like I'm a kid in Christmas. A kid at Christmas time, you know, Christmas Eve.
You said you muted it.
All right. So honestly, I feel like a kid on Christmas Eve. I mean, so exciting. You know, started up athletics. I mean, gosh, I think about our kids from where they were to where they've come, what they've overcome. It has been an absolute pleasure to be a part of it and to kind of get these sports, you know, up and running this fall. We're fortunate to be able to, you know, be taking part in the fall one, the MIAA fall one season. So we started, you know, tryouts on September 21st. And I got to give a huge shout out to our student athletes, you know, our coaches, our parents, our facilities, our community. Everyone truly has really come together as a team and really, you know, made this happen. And our student athletes are doing a fabulous job out there on the field, you know, social distancing, using their masks, hand sanitizing when they can. And, you know, they're, you know, adjusting to all these sport modifications. So, you know, again, I mean, they've overcome so much and it's exciting. Starting tryouts. Golf has started. They're 2-1. Yeah, they played Dartmouth tonight. I don't know how they did, but I'm gonna hear from Mr. Antonio, Coach Antonio. Can't wait to hear. I have to be honest. You know, we had some of our golf athletes going out, I think, for their first match, and they were pumped. You know, everyone's wearing masks, but you can tell the smiles under there. You can tell the energy. And, you know, that just fires me right up. I'm like, let's go. We love it. I truly do. It's such a pleasure. So golf 2-1. We start up tomorrow. We have volleyball at home. We have field hockey at home. Both play in Dartmouth. Let's go. This is what it's all about. Great to see the kids out there. Honestly, like I said, you can't tell they're smiling, but you know they're smiling because they are jumping around. They're hooting it up. And that's what it should be. We have, let's see, Wednesday, we have boys and girls soccer. I think girls soccer is away, going to Dartmouth. Boys soccer is home, playing Dartmouth. And then we have boys and girls cross country, which is a home meet. So that will be played at home at West Bridgewater. And I love every minute of it. Bring it on. Let's go. You know, to be able to, again, take part in you know, the athletics with the kids during this time. I'll do whatever it takes. It's awesome. A little bit about, you know, coming to a game, our spectatorship. We are, you know, we will allow home fans at our home meets. And, you know, there will be signage everywhere. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. And I will help in any way that I can. We also, for our non-leagues, we will allow, you know, visiting spectators and home fans as well. So, you know, this is what it's all about. I feel so thankful, you know, to be able to be part of this. And, you know, questions, please reach out to, you know, Ms. Hamill, Jen Hamill, and, you know, anything you need, because that's what we're here for. And I'll do whatever it takes to get our athletes on the field, keep them safe, keep them out there. Let's go. Let's go Wildcats. Woo!
It's very clear that the mask did not dampen at all the enthusiasm.
You want me to mute
That is
mute
quite
that?
for sure. So thank you, Ms. Hamill, for all
Thank
you
you
do.
so much.
Again, one of the things that I just want to add is that, you know, I think we're very excited athletics are back. Ms. Hamill has done a wonderful job with our student athletes. We feel that's an integral part of the educational process for our kids to be involved, both in school and those extracurricular activities. The other things that we're working on is bringing back some of the clubs and activities as well, because we feel that also completes the educational experience for our kids. So we'll be definitely looking at adding those things in, because again, this is an educational experience that should be well-rounded beyond just the classroom experiences. So thank you to all. Good job.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Can you come back every month? We need it. We need it. Thank you. Thank you. And under business, we have the Inclusion Matters update with Mrs. Smith.
Yes, so we have some upcoming virtual seminars on Wednesday, October 21st from 7 to 8:30. It's called Beyond Organizing Binders, and it's how to help your child improve executive functioning and independence with our guest, Ryan Wexelblatt. And we're co-hosting this with the Bridgewater Rainham group, and it will be on via Zoom. The best way to get the information is on the Facebook page or to get on the Inclusion Matters email list. Then on Thursday, November 5th at 7:30 to 9, also virtual, we're co-hosting with West Bridgewater Schools Student Services. Our very own Janelle Burley-Hoffman, graduate of West Bridgewater, published author, international speaker, and consultant. I think lots of us know her, but she's going to be presenting Raising Tech Healthy Families Together. So that's very timely. And then save the date for Friday, November 20th. We have a movie night, My Beautiful Stutter. So those are the upcoming events that will all be via Zoom. So again, the best way to get the information is on the Facebook page or to become a member on the email list if you'd like to get the links to it.
Fantastic. A lot of good things going on. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for that update. And also under business, we have a homeschool application with Mrs. Marble.
Hello. We have one homeschool application added, and I've reviewed it. It aligns with the school district's policy, and I'd recommend its approval.
I'd like to have a motion to approve. Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marlowe. Yep. I think I had my microphone off for that. I think so. Let's see. Also, a voting issue is the MASC/MASS official delegate form. In order for our school committee to have a vote at the annual business meeting of the Mass Association of School Committee, it is necessary that an official delegate be designated in pursuance of Article 11, Section 6 of the bylaws. And just to give a little bit of a further update, I've provided all of the members with an updated delegate form. So it will be held virtually on Saturday, November 7th at 1 p.m. And I have spoken with Mr. Yo, and I've asked if he would be interested in accepting the nomination to be the delegate on behalf of the West Bridgewater School Committee.
Nope, and I accept that nomination.
Excellent. So again, this is a voting matter. So if we could again show a hand for moved and second motion to approve Mr. David Yo as being the nominated delegate for this year's delegate assembly. Mr. Flynn. And seconded, Mrs. Hume. Any discussion?
I would just encourage the rest of the school committee members to look over the 10 resolutions. I didn't see them in the back of this packet, but I know online the 10 resolutions are there. So if you have any questions or want to discuss them, please just reach out to me, call me, email me, and I'd be happy to talk about them with everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Do we need to have an alternate or no?
Where it's virtual, I'm not sure.
Sure either.
It has it on here.
Yeah.
Would there be anyone interested in being the alternate in the event that Mr. Yo is not available?
I can do it.
Sure. Excellent. I don't think that would be a voting issue, but thank you very much. All in favor for Mr. Yo with Mrs. Hume being the alternate? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Okay. And the warrant subcommittee report, that would be me. I have The following warrants were issued and paid for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. There are 3 bill warrants. The first dated September 24th, 2020, in the amount of $66,706.91. A bill warrant dated October 1st, 2020, in the amount of $100,631.94. And a third dated October 8th, 2020, in the amount of $95,850.23. There were 2 payroll warrants. The first dated September 18th of 2020, in the amount of $467,343.09, and a second payroll warrant dated October 2nd, 2020, in the amount of $499,718.74. As always, all warrants are public record, and once signed, they are available in the Selectman's office for review. Now, under public forum, members of the audience wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members are reminded that personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during this public forum. And I would ask that if anyone addresses the committee during this public forum, that you identify yourself by your name, and we would appreciate that. All right. So there's, I'll start under the chat section, and then if there are members that are calling in, we can take your calls that way. There's a first chat, Dawn Saunders. Good evening, school committee members. What are the obligations of the district for students on IEPs that are homeschooled? And then a second question, what are the essential components of the homeschool application? I would ask Mrs. Marble, please.
Hello? Okay. I'm sorry, can you ask that question again so I can have it in front of me?
What are the obligations of the district for students on IEPs that are homeschooled?
There's a letter that's going home for all those students. If you are a student that has an IEP of your family, I'd like you to also contact my office, just in case I missed someone, but I don't believe I did. But there's letters that go home that explain in detail what the district's responsibility is.
Then the second question, what are the essential components of the homeschool application?
What he just said something else, sorry. When you send in the application, it involves a curriculum. You have to write down exactly what you're using. It also, there's a memorandum that needs to be signed. In addition, there's the laws that we look at that the district has. I don't have it exactly in front of me. We also have progress reports that are sent. I believe they're twice a year. Is there anything specific that you're looking for?
If I may, just interrupt, I mean, I think that, if people have specific questions related to homeschooling, I think the more appropriate manner would probably be to contact the Director of Student Services in their office. They can go back, they can have a discussion about it back and forth. Maybe, that way there's information in front and specific questions can be answered.
And we couldn't do that here with the specific.
Right. I mean, I don't have all the stuff in front of me, but if there's anyone that has specific questions, then certainly call the office and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Great. Thank you. And I have a John McCormick first. Thank you very much to Mr. Bodwell for being so responsive with all of my emails, and to the school district for opening up hybrid. I really, truly appreciate all of your efforts. The AAP, the WHO and CDC and DESE recommend a minimum of 3 feet with masks. When do you anticipate we can go this requirement, since the numbers of COVID and WB are getting lower in 2 in 14 days last report? Before that, it was 3 people. Mr. Bodwell?
Sure. I think, first of all, I think we all agree that nothing replaces the in-person learning. I think that is our ultimate goal, is to be back in person. We have been charged throughout to look at the data. The data has indicated higher numbers to the DPH data. If you do look at that, we are lower over the past 2 weeks. And we acknowledge it is tough for families. There are some difficulties in terms of the hybrid model being home. I've charged the principals to really look at the classroom space, because our really limiting factor is classroom space. We are at 6 feet right now, nose to nose for our students, and we have pretty full classrooms. That 6 feet is what is pretty standard amongst all districts. We also feel the CDC, the state has also pushed 6 feet, wearing masks and practicing proper social distancing. So, but we're looking at the numbers. If we were to be dropped below that 6 feet, I've asked principals to see how many students we could fit in classrooms from 3 to 6 feet at every foot increment. And I think that's, where we're moving down the road when we feel we're ready to do that. And a reminder, it's not just the classroom space we need to look at. We need to look at every space in the building. We need to look at arrival, dismissal, transportation, lunches, movement around the school. We're 6 days in with kids in school and 6 days out of school. Basically, that's just over a week of education if we're in a normal school type of year. We're getting really good at what we're doing. I think the goal is, after these, we'll look at it for a period of time and then reevaluate. So it's certainly in our plans to move, hopefully move to more in-person learning. But we want to look at the data. We want to make sure we're ready to do that. Okay. You're welcome.
And Mr. McCormick also asked, thank you, Mr. McCormick, first of all, for knowing all about work that Mr. Bodwell and the division teachers, students, everything's doing. Mr. McCormick did add in. Sorry about that. Thank you. Mr. McCormick did add in a further question. Any goal date?
I'm reluctant to have a goal date. I'll be honest with you. I think we can put dates out there, but it's tough to know everything that's going to be going on. I think we're, as a school committee and the WBEA, are reevaluating in the end of October. So that will be one of the goals, that we'll talk about different scenarios and what things might look like. I think the goal is as soon as we feel it's safe to do so and bring kids back in to the building.
Thank you. And Dawn Saunders, one more question. Will there be a time for parents to provide feedback to the special education department? Is it accurate we have special education staff working from home?
I can just answer in general that we have some teachers who are working, doing some remote working, but we feel it's not affecting the services, and that's through consultation with the building principals. So we certainly look at, as all districts are, what our best use of our resources are, how we can fill resources that may be lacking in certain areas, but we're only going to do something if we feel it doesn't detract from the learning of our kids.
Don Saunders also stated, not affecting, ? Is that a fact?
At this time, I don't think we're really going to go back and forth with what we feel is in the best educational interest of our students. We feel what we're providing for our kids is in their best educational interest. If you have a question or concern, you asked about doing surveys, you reach out to me, reach out to the building principals, whomever you would like, and we'll certainly give you the answers.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bodwell. And Caitlin Barry. Hello. Thank you all for taking tonight. My name is Claudia Barry. I have a daughter at the school outside the district, Norfolk County Agricultural High School. I'd like to discuss concern regarding education. There are other factors to see with common concern. Ms. Barry did not. Sorry?
I'm here. I don't know if you can.
I think the issue might be, if we can't all turn up our microphones at the same time. I don't know if
Yeah.
I think that might create that. So Ms. Sullivan, do you want to try turning up yours and see if we can hear her?
Okay,
Hello?
Fully on system.
I don't know how I
I
can
don't
get
think
her
that's
on
the
mine.
case right now.
Can you hear me?
I'll hear the question clearly.
Okay.
Hello?
That's why. I apologize, Ms. Derry. I didn't have my volume up. I didn't know you were trying to speak.
Not a problem at all.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, you're welcome. Thank you all for taking the time tonight. I appreciate it. I actually spoke with Mr. Bodwell earlier this week regarding the concern, and I wanted to see if it could be spoken to further. I sent an email out to the school committee directly. I'm not sure if anyone received it. This is the first for me, so please bear with me. So in regards to the concern, my daughter, Lauren Barry, she is attending Norfolk Aggie this year. And I understand that the bus stop that was established for Norfolk Aggie was done in previous years. It wasn't done this year. However, when more students were placed to this bus stop, we've discovered that the location of it wasn't the best for the students to offer them a bus stop within walking distance to their home. And it also provided a much longer bus travel, I guess you would say, for the students. So I was trying to figure out a way to alleviate those problems, because I understand that under the Department of Education that a bus stop should be within walking distance to the student's home and should provide a minimal time on the bus. And I sent an email describing exactly what is happening and also potential options to try to rectify this, because they're spending a lot more time than they should, I believe, on the bus than if there was a bus stop local to West Bridgewater.
Okay, I believe Mr. Bodwell will speak to this.
Sure, thank you. We, yeah, actually, we're good, okay. We, you know, in my first year, I do know that we've been in a multi-year contract with 8 other school districts providing transportation to Norfolk Aggie. This has been for at least the last 3 years and probably longer. There was a bus stop established for West Bridgewater students. It was in East Bridgewater. Prior to the start of school, we talked to the coordinator of the bus company, and they moved the stop. It's still in East Bridgewater, but it's approximately 2 to 3 miles closer to the West Bridgewater border. The bus stop is about 2.4 miles from the border of West Bridgewater and less than 6 miles from the center of West Bridgewater. This has, again, been an existing bus stop for a number of years. We are committed to paying this transportation cost along with these 8 other communities that stretch all the way from Situate, Pembroke, and over to West Bridgewater. We did do some investigating. We did we reached out to look at what another bus company would charge for next year if we had to if we wanted to enter into a contract to provide transportation door to door from West Bridgewater to Norfolk Aggie and back. And the cost of that would be more than 4 times the amount, about $63,000 for that transportation. This year, again, we're committed to that, but that doesn't mean in the future we're not going to look at other options. We can hopefully look to extend that line from West Bridgewater and maybe over to Easton or the Brockton area, pick up more students, and then therefore create a different route. The reality is that the school is in Norfolk, Mass. It's, you know, about 45 minutes away anyhow, so it is definitely a long ride on the bus, but we're just continuing what we've done in the past for providing transportation.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone in the school committee had a chance to read the emails regarding the transportation that my daughter's currently doing.
We never saw an email. Did you send it to the committee as a whole?
I sent it directly to S. Sullivan, D. Hume, M. Smith, B. Flynn, and D. Yo. So currently my daughter, to get to school, is driving 15 minutes in the opposite direction of the school and is traveling approximately 72.8 miles each day round trip, and is on the bus and also traveling in my vehicle 15 minutes in the opposite direction a total of 2 hours and 8 minutes round trip. And I did some investigating myself regarding potential routes because we've driven to Norfolk Aggie multiple times. So one of the options I Google mapped and researched lengthily was directly from our home, a bus stop in the town hall would reduce the time to 1 hour and 18 minutes round trip, and also the mileage down from 72.8 miles to 57 miles each day round trip. And then I found another option where, and that would be through the back roads, up Route 24 and then 93 and then 95. And then the second option was to take Route 24 directly from the town hall bus stop, potentially, up Route 27, the back roads, to potentially pick up other students, as Mr. Bodwell said, in other local towns to help with bus costs. And that route would allow my daughter to reduce her time traveled from 72.8 miles each day to 46.2 miles each day, and her time traveling from my home of 2 hours and 18 minutes to 1 hour and 28 minutes. So I feel like there would be a significant improvement on her travel each day. I understand that the school district or the school is far away to begin with, but I feel like it's being extended drastically because of an option that was established years ago. And I feel like something should have been done before school started. And I know that there's been a lot going on with COVID and everything. And certain things kind of fell through the cracks, but I feel like something should be done for these students, because it's not just my daughter, it's a couple other students that are going to Norfolk Aggie. And I don't feel like that their round trip miles and time should be as extreme as it is. And I feel like they should have a bus stop local to their home, so if they need to walk home, they could. So.
Mr. Sullivan? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Again, if I may, this transportation, again, we're committed to paying this money. It's about $15,000 a year. To change that would certainly be a budgetary issue, and that would defer to the school committee for that, for an additional $63,500, therefore providing transportation costs of over $78,000 unbudgeted at this time. Again, we'll look at options for next year, but just want to lay out the facts of the information.
So, Mr. Bodwell, I'd like to thank you and Mrs. Grant, who's our business manager, for looking at the financial impact. I do understand, Ms. Barry, that there is more than a financial impact on your family, on your daughter. I understand there is also an impact on the other students who are attending Norfolk Aggie, not only from West Bridgewater, but from the surrounding towns. It's my understanding that we're in a unique position where our students in West Bridgewater, because we're not in Bristol County or in Norfolk County, we're in Plymouth County, so we have the option of either going to Bristol Aggie or Norfolk Aggie. And I think with that, unfortunately, comes the kind of the commitment that it takes. If you make that decision to go to that school, it falls under the school choice rules. And where Mr. Bell already kind of looked at the numbers, the accommodation has already been made to have that stop be moved. Miles closer.
Approximately, maybe a little bit less.
Closer to where is it now? On Route 18, at Mockingbird. We will most certainly look into other accommodations. We'll have some conversations with the transportation company because of this, unique situation. But I think for right now, we are commitment for that year contract on the transportation with Lucini Bus.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what we can do to change that.
Right.
But we can most certainly look into changing it or having it be modified for going forward next year. I know that's probably not an answer that's, a good answer for your family right now, for your daughter. But I just feel that if there was something else that could be done, Mr. Bodwell's already made some accommodations, and the financial impact is clearly not one that the district can bear right now, if we were to change that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I put in the chat, sorry, that we did actually just find your email, Mrs. Barry, in our spam folders, so apologize for that. It went to all of our spam folders, but we do see it now. Just
Okay,
wanted to let you know.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barry, and I will take a look at your email as well.
Thank you.
Moving on into the chat section. Let me turn this off, sorry about that. This is from John McCormick. I don't believe I've skipped anything. John McCormick chats, for the hybrid model, a modified schedule came from the second grade at Roselle, shortening the synchronous learning times. The first one got shortened by 20 minutes and the last one by 45 minutes. So synchronous learning is being shortened. Just wondering what reasoning was, as kids this age are difficulty to do asynchronous learning seems like too much time lapse. I think this is what is concerning for us parents, the amount of asynchronous learning for this age group.
I will, I can address that. I know I talked to Mrs. Goulet about this today. And again, we're in the beginning stages. We put in our plan, certain amounts of time, they've been modified, plus or minus a little bit, but in talking to her today, we have an hour and 110-minute commitment for core plus specialist time. That's a lot of synchronous learning time. Compare that to other districts, I think we're still well ahead of them. There is asynchronous time, and I do know that this puts a burden on families. I do understand that. I've got kids at home myself, so I know that it's a burden. I know it, especially at the younger grades, but we're trying to balance the screen time with also the amount of time that they're doing other work, paper and pencil kind of things. If parents have questions or concerns, please reach out to the building principal, reach out to the teachers, ask your questions, because we want to get this right. We're always talking, I'm always talking with the principals about balance, trying to find that right amount of balance where we're giving them enough screen time so we can educate them during the hybrid model, but not too much screen time, because we do too much screen time, these young kids, it's difficult for them. Again, balancing that with parents' work schedules and the attention span of kids, it becomes difficult. Again, we ask for patience just in terms of, as we fine tune this, once the students start getting their routines down, we think they'll become more independent as well. And I think another big thing will be the open house curriculum night we have coming up both this week and next week. Good opportunities for principals to get information out there to the parents.
Thank you, Mr. Bodwell. Dawn Saunders, if I request a special education evaluation for my daughter, will she need to come to the building? I do not want her in the buildings at this time. The evaluation will need to be virtual. When were our evaluators trained in conducting virtual evaluations? And if I may speak, I might be speaking out of line, Mrs. Marble, but I would suggest that, Ms. Saunders, you probably contact Mrs. Marble directly with your specific concerns, but Mrs. Marble will be here to address this as well.
Yes, I would agree. Thank you. So if you have any questions at all, then please do call the special education office. We are not conducting virtual assessments at this time, but if your daughter needs to be evaluated, then we can certainly make it so that it is safe for her to come in the building. But again, please call the special ed office and we'll have a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dawn Saunders, isn't it required to have a bus stop in West Bridgewater? I presume you're speaking with regard to Ms. Barry's concern for the Norfolk Aggie. And it is my understanding that under school choice, there are no requirements to have the bus stop in the town where you reside.
I mean, again, this is through our collaborative group. There are some that have bus stops in their town. There are other districts that are traveling to bus stops outside of their town. So there's no requirement.
Oh, that's how you can tell. Okay. All right, anyone else who'd like to type in their chat or call in? We are still under the public forum.
Is my microphone working?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, I think. Yeah. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, could you identify your name, please?
Phil Hobbs. My daughter's going to Norfolk Aggie as well.
Hello, Mr. Hobbs.
I agree with Miss Barry. It's ridiculous getting my 10-year-old up at 5 a.m. to get her to the bus stop. When we all went to the Aggie, we had a little bus pick us up at the house and bring us to another bus stop, not all the way to the Aggie. Stoughton, Sharon, halfway. I don't see how that would cost $63,000 a year. I'm not a coordinator for the money of the bus company, but not to mention right now, it's only every other week. It's not every day, every week. It just seems a little ridiculous that the whole house has to get in an uproar because I guess West Bridgewater went in with 2 other towns and we suffer because the bus route's 20 minutes from where we live. I just think it's ridiculous. Nothing else can be done. I think it needs to be looked into. Or, yeah, it's crazy. It's absurd, really. My 10-year-old, that he has to get up that early now. His whole day's wrecked. Well, not wrecked, but he's not getting the amount of sleep that he should. And I agree, they're on the bus way too long. They're sending us in a completely wrong direction. School's the other way. I mean, isn't there something that can be done other than next year? They're going to be driving in 2-3 years anyways.
Mr. Hobbs, as we had stated before, I would be happy to, again, speak with Mr. Bodwell, Mrs. Grant, but unfortunately, we are under contract for this year. And at this point, unless there's any other further conversations with the transportation with Lucini Bus, the routes are what they are right now. And unfortunately, that is just part of the commitment that's been made for Norfolk Aggie attendance.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
If the issue is transporting from a bus stop to the Mockingbird, certainly we could look into that and get a cost for having a central location in West Bridgewater, and then transporting to Mockingbird and back. It certainly would mean that that time would have to be earlier, obviously, to make the proper bus stop time in East Bridgewater. But I can talk to Mrs. Grant and we can look into what that cost may be.
I mean, yeah, I think need to have a couple more options. I don't think it's fair to the other kids in these families to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning when they don't go to school till 7:30. I mean, they're 10, 11, some might be younger. I'm not sure how old the other children are in the other families, but it's crazy.
I was asked to look at the cost to go from West Bridgewater to Norfolk Aggie and back. So we can certainly look into that option as well. West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater and back.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hobbs.
I'm just going to chime in here really quick. My daughter goes to Norfolk Aggie as well.
Could you please identify by name, please?
Yeah, it's Melissa Conley.
Okay,
So
thank you, Ms. Conley.
if Chelsea has to go from home to West Bridgewater Center, say, and then go from there to East Bridgewater, as it is, we have to have them at the bus stop in East Bridgewater by 6:05, 6:10. So then they would have to be on the bus somewhere else by 5:30. So that's just going to push everything even earlier. It would be my only concern with that. Just before we look into something that's not going to be feasible for other families as far as getting up earlier to get the kids to one bus stop to have them transported to another. That would be my only concern with the one bus to another stop. Does that make sense? Sorry.
And that everyone agrees, and that's actually what Mr. Bodwell's point was just made to that same point that you just made it as well. So that will have to be considered as part of the picture. Thank you, Ms. Conley.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other chats or anyone else wishing to address on the phone?
Hello, this is Claudia Barry again.
Hi, yes.
So just in regards to the question someone had, aren't we required to have a bus stop in West Bridgewater? When I did look into this, I read under the Department of Education that their standards involve regional school districts. It's not about choice, from what I understand, and it indicates on their webpage regarding public transportation that the bus routes are structured so total time the student spends on the bus is minimal, and that they should be within walking distance to the child's home. Can I guess, focus on why this was never established to begin with?
That has not been our policy. The policy has been to provide a bus route that's within reasonable distance, less than 6 miles from the center, less than 2.5 miles from the border of West Bridgewater. Again, I said I would look into transportation from West Bridgewater to a stop. As we said before, right now we're in a contract. It would be in excess of $63,000 extra that has not been budgeted for.
Okay, I understand that. I printed out the policy for West Bridgewater and
And Barry, I will, the rest of the members and myself, we will review your email. And again, we did not have it before tonight's meeting, as it did go into the spam. So we will review that because you did take a lot of time to come up with those calculations for time and, travel distance and so forth. So we will be more than willing to look at that email and try to figure out something from here. But again, I'm not really too sure what we're going to be able to do with this year.
When was it changed that the minivans were no longer available? That's how it's been for years. I don't know why they changed it. It worked for years and years in that fashion.
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I just took over the position this July, so I'm not sure.
I mean, I believe while Dr. Oakley was here, I believe at least probably 5 years ago, that had been changed, if not longer. But I can confirm that as well, Mr. Hobbs, when that happened.
I think it's something to reconsider possibly. But thank you.
Thank you again for your time.
Oh, what did I do?
Okay, I can the chat.
There's a couple more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't scroll, sorry. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Ask a question. Yep, a question or a chat from John McCormick. Anything us parents can do to help raise money for plexiglass, et cetera, to get the 3-foot rule, as long as numbers continue to go down? I apologize for beating a dead horse, but the majority of parents, as reflected by this summer's survey, would like to see these kids back. Warrant still wouldn't, 5-panel member of the school committee, love to see, and Mr. Bodwell and all the administrators who are sitting here as well, love to see the kids come back. Mr. Bodwell.
We have put in quite a bit of money through the Plymouth County CARES Act to purchase plexiglass and small dividers within classrooms, mostly for our special ed spaces. We can maximize those spaces, but the other spaces, again, still will not fit all the people in there at this current time.
Thank you. And Kristen Bryant, in regard to the previous question regarding 3-foot distancing, were there measurements taken to see how many students could be accommodated? I apologize if I missed that information.
So the question is, did we measure for 3 feet?
I believe that's the question.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, we did. This was early in the summer, actually, when we first began the process. We were charged by the Department of Ed to look at all 3 different scenarios: in-person, hybrid, and remote learning. So therefore, we asked each principal to do the measurements in each classroom, each educational space at 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, and 6 feet. And recently I've asked them to go back and just review that information, not really remeasure because things haven't changed, but I think once we set up the classrooms at 6 feet, things may be a little unique per classroom. So they're looking at that again. So we have documented and looked at all that information.
Okay. And I'm just going to jump over Christina Weber for a moment. Robin Duffy had stated or chatted, why weren't measurements taken over the summer or last week to see how many kids can fit 3 feet apart in all schools? And I believe Mr. Bodwell just addressed that. Back up to Don Saunders. You oversee policy school committee. You should be able to speak to policy. School committee, please address the policy. Ms. Saunders, I'm not quite sure what policy you're referring to.
Not sure.
I'm not sure if, I believe your questions before were directed to our Director of Student Services. If it's a special education policy, then again, if you could just address Mrs. Marble, then we would be happy to review any policy that she brings to our attention. And Christina Weber, it was mentioned that there is no goal date for going full-time in school. What do the numbers need to look like for this to happen?
I think we have to look at the data through the town. I think we need to look at what's best for kids. We were in the yellow for 2 weeks in a row. We're back in the white or gray, whatever you call that, whatever shade that is right now. So I think we want to look consistency over a period of time.
Okay. And Don Saunders, many students on IEPs require closer than 6 feet to provide services. I was not informed of this, and what is the protocol for staff that need to be within 6 feet? You opened the district based on 6 feet. And again, Ms. Saunders, I would just refer, unless Mrs. Marble, would you like to address that, or Mr. Bodwell?
I think we can. We do have plexiglass dividers that we've purchased to allow that distance to be less. We also have additional PPEs, such as not only wearing the mask, but face shields as well that staff would be using if in fact, especially at the younger grades, they have to be less than 6 feet. But again, I think in all cases, there's a plexiglass divider there.
And again, I believe these guidelines were also reviewed by our nurse leader, Julie Dietrichson,
Yes.
as well. And they are also within the state protocols.
Yes.
And John McCormick, do you know how many kids can fit 3 feet apart, I think was the question.
Do I know? Yes. Do I have a memorized? No, I don't know right now. I certainly have to pull up our Google spreadsheet so I could look at it, but it's certainly more. 3 feet looks a lot closer to back full-time in person. Maybe not exactly full-time in person, but it certainly does increase the number of students that we can fit. And again, our goal is to be back in person as soon as possible with all safety protocols. Again, as I said before, it's not just the classroom space that we need to look at. It's the travel around the building, maintaining at least 3 feet. It's the arrival and dismissal. It's lunches. Remember, lunches, they have to remain at 6 feet if they're taking off their masks. Transportation on buses, right now we are at a 33% capacity, which on our buses fit 27 students. If we were to go back full time right now, without any changes in bus regulations, we may have an issue with buses and not be able to fit all the students on buses, therefore needing additional funding for additional bus runs. So it's not just the classroom spaces we need to look at. There's a lot that goes into this. And the other part that I talked about earlier, we are 2.5 weeks into school. We really want to get this right. We want to make sure that the teachers are doing an outstanding job in the classes. They're working really hard. The kids are working really hard. We want to make sure we do it right before we're jumping right into going back full in person.
Thank you, Mr. Bodwell. I believe I've addressed all of the chats. Mrs. Hume, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Flynn, Mr. Yo, anything else? And I don't believe there's anyone else waiting to call in or to be heard on the phone. Okay. So we'll move on to the district calendars. Under the district meetings for school councils. Roselle McDonald, October 26th at 3:30 p.m., which will be virtual. The Howard School will be on November 9th at 2:45 p.m. And will that that will be virtual also. And also there's a PTO meeting on October 27th at 7 PM at the Roselle McDonald. Mrs. Hume, has that been confirmed? And is that virtual? Do you know? Oh, that would be in person. That's excellent. And under the middle senior high school on October 6th is curriculum night at 6 PM, which is virtual. October 9th will be coffee hour with the principal at 8 AM. October 13th, there will be a class ring night in the cafeteria at 5 PM, which all social distancing will be adhered to. From October 13th through the 16th, Life Touch Pictures will be here. So I assume they will coordinate through cohorts A, B, and C. October 14th, there's the athletic boosters meeting, which is also virtual at 7 PM. And October 31st is the National Honor Society Trunk or Treat fundraiser from 2 to 4 PM. Mr. Bodwell, could you talk a little bit about the details?
Sure. What we're looking to do again, National Honor Society is running this. They've done it for the past few years. It's been really popular. We're hoping it's even more popular this year. To practice social distancing, they're going to have the parents park in the student parking lot. And I believe, talking to Mrs. Page, who's helping coordinate this, the cars will be spaced every other space around the building. So the students would walk, we'd close off the road around the school. The students would walk on the driveway side, and the parents could therefore stay on the sidewalk side. So plenty of social distancing, wearing gloves, maybe even having tongs to hand out the candy, so it's nice and safe. It's a fundraiser, but I think the even better part is the interaction between the older kids and the younger kids. It's a pretty special event. Our kids like it, the high school kids love it, and I think the young kids do too.
That's great. Thank you so much. Under the Howard School calendar, October 8th is their curriculum night from 6 to 7:30 PM, which is also virtual. Mr. McLaughlin, is Life Touch Pictures coming to Howard? You had them last week. Excellent. That's great. Roselle McDonald School, October 13th, the RLM curriculum night at 6 PM, which will also be virtual. And then on October 19th, Life Touch Picture Day for Cohort A. And then on October 22nd, there will be Life Touch Picture Day for Groups B and C. At the Spring Street School, October 6th will be Life Touch Picture Day. October 8th will also be another Life Touch Picture Day. And on October 15th will be the curriculum night at 6 PM. Is that also virtual? It is virtual. And our next regular school committee meeting date will be Monday, November 9th, 2020 at 6:30 PM. In person for the members and administrators, no more than 25 people under current regulations. Here at the Senior High School Learning Commons. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn. Raise your hand, please. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Good night.